right, we are back with another video on my personal E36. We are putting an Ecoboost in it, 2.3 liter. It's coming along quite well. In that last video we uploaded, we got it to fire. Didn't run real great, but we got it to fire. We plumbed the cooling system and finished up intercooler pipes and some of the other bits and pieces for it. And in this video, we're going to kind of finish everything up in the engine bay. I think the only thing left I have to plumb is the power steering system, so I'm going to do that here. And then we are going to hopefully get this thing on the dyno and see what kind of power it makes. All right, so we're going to plumb the power steering system in this car. We normally use these all-star tanks. They have like a little baffle in the inlet of the tank, and they're pretty economical, and they work pretty well actually, big volume. But in this case, I want to do something a little different. So I'm going to fabricate a power steering reservoir, and we're going to use these little domes for the top and bottom of the tank. And not sure what size I'm going to use yet. And then I'm just going to like weld my own vented cap onto it, make a bracket and everything. So yeah, we're going to do something like this right here on the strut tower. I modified this in the lathe, just put a big hole in it essentially, so that I could sink this inside of here. Just kind of eats up some of the material so this doesn't stick out the top real high, you know. I just think that's a cleaner look with a weld right there as opposed to having that on there like that. Even if I weld that flange, still it's a little cleaner. So here I've set up my phone under the hood of my car, just sat it on my engine, and now I'm lowering the hood so I can get an idea of what kind of hood clearance I have between the hood and the top of the strut tower where I'm going to mount the tank. So this is the center of the power steering tank, and I welded like a little deflector in here so the fluid will come into the reservoir, hit that deflector, and spray straight down inside. So it'll look something like this. Bam. 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 Alright, I got my tank here, 6 AN welded on there, and I got a 10 AN coming off the bottom, little offset to clear the fender. That's my little grenade power steering tank. This is the high pressure power steering hose. It uses the BMRS Hytrel smooth bore hose and their smooth bore specific fittings. It's got a stainless instead of aluminum tube there. Pretty excited about this stuff. It's much better looking than the traditional like Aeroquip high pressure stuff that we used to use. Nice, lightweight, low profile, Teflon lined, really cool stuff. All right, power steering is all plumbed. There's our high pressure line out of the rack. I'm sorry, it goes into the rack there from the pump. Then we have the return line here, comes up to a filter. I have this old filter laying around, so that's there on the frame rail. This line runs through here, up into the front where I have my cooler mounted. All right, there we go. Out of the cooler on this side, under some pipe work, and up into my little reservoir. This thing is still very much in test mode, but my OBD2 port, got my scanner plugged into it. I don't have any gauges right now, and I want to run it for a little bit, bleed the coolant, and bleed the power steering, which I think I already got done, honestly. But I just ran it for a few, and upper hose plenty hot, lower hose super cold, and I am running the thermostat in this thing, though I'm not normally a thermostat in a race car guy, but we're doing it in here. So I'm gonna hook up the scan tool, get some data until I can get my link dash. That fella right there, until I can get that hooked up. So we're just watching our Alltel scanner here. Coolant temp is up to 201. The factory ECU is supposed to turn and the fan's on at 212. So we're waiting to see if that happens. Pretty high, but I know modern engines run pretty warm. And yeah, I got some data stream here, which is cool. Too bad I can't just leave this thing in the car, huh? So I believe the lower radiator hose is now warm, according to Chris. So we got our thermostat open. So now we're just waiting to see if the fans kick on. All right, so the fans didn't kick on. This thing boiled over, but you know, we got up to 212 or 213 or something, which we read the fans were supposed to come on at that point. So we're gonna get into it with HP tuners and see what we can do about that. So problem number 2, got a fuel leak here. It looks like it's coming from these old lines that are like original to the car, so no surprise that they leak. These guys here, I haven't touched these ever. All of our additional fuel stuff is up here. There, you see that red filter. And I just connected to the factory lines there. So we got to figure out why it's leaking back here now. One thing at a time, though. Fuel leak is this whole entire hose isn't connected to the top hat. And I don't even see a clamp. Like where there was, like the clamp's gone. Yeah. All right. Chris did some tidying up for me. He also made me a coolant overflow reservoir that matches the power steering tank I made. Got a little bleed line there for it. Some of the wiring is tidied up. Believe it or not, it is. Can't wait to rewire this car during the off season. Basically getting things ready for their data logging, some street driving, and some dyno stuff. He tidied up some wiring. We got a little exhaust leak we got to attend to. And right now, Devin is helping me pull a log so we can send it to the tuner. We're just using HP tuners on this thing, the stock ECU. That's all I got. All right, so first road test in the Ecoboost E36. We're in here doing a little data logging. Basically, first data log, we're sending over to Jake at GemSport. He's doing the remote tuning for us for this thing because we don't do HP tuners, stock ECU stuff. But Jake's been helping me with the swap along the way. Very helpful. I want to thank him. So yeah, I'm going to give this thing a little rip. Just get him some data, basic driving around data, a little bit of different varying loads and stuff. And send it out to him, and then maybe we'll get into some fun driving a little later. All right, so we were having low fuel pressure issues. Luckily, we have this parts car sitting here. It was already jacked up because we were doing some subframe work, and we yanked the gas tank out of it. I knew that the pump that we put in it was kind of questionable, so we took it out to look at it, and the inside of my factory gas tank is full of junk. You can't see it, but it's pretty bad. So actually, you know what? Look at that. Yeah, a lot of that in there. You can see this all rusty. It's a plastic tank, but it has stuff that can corrode in it. So you see that? Gross. And this is a good tank that we took out of that parts car. See, that's what it's supposed to look like. Very nice, very nice, very nice. And also the sending unit. So this is the one out of my gas tank. This little rod, completely, it was twice as long. It's got like holes corroded in it. And the float is just gone. Like, it's gone, melted, no idea. The insulation on the wiring, gone. So that's what was going on inside my gas tank. Parts car gas tank, my gas tank. Ready to go back in. We got this fresh-ish gas tank up in here. The job is actually pretty easy. It's just these two straps, but on top of the tank, you have all these hoses that come from this side of the car. And, well, they're all like 25 years old or older, almost 30 years old. And they're all dried and rotten and gross. So I had to be really careful putting them back on. So yeah, look at that, gas tank. Got the E36 out on the road doing some pulls, as I mentioned. Car is running smoothly, but the power band is really strange. It's apparently doing some sort of torque reduction thing where the ECU pulls a bunch of timing. It's like factory ECU stuff, and sometimes those things are too smart for their own good. So we're kind of struggling with that, going back and forth with Jake, sending him a file, driving it, sending him a file, driving it. And he's making changes and it's getting incrementally better, but it's still not where we want it to be. So we're gonna put it on the dyno here. Hopefully that will kind of help speed things up. So we are gonna do that next. Car's looking pretty good though. You know, it's all silver still, which is nice. Maybe not the same color silver. And the engine bay turned out pretty decent, you know. We didn't really paint the engine bay, but you know, we did a tidy job of the install and mounting everything. So pretty happy with this thing. As long as we can get it to run normally, I'll say, then I will be pumped with this car, I'm pretty sure. So we did maybe, I don't know, 6 to 12 dyno pulls, and then we had to take the car off the dyno to put a client's car on there. So I went back out to make another couple pulls on the street for now. Alright, so another pull. It's still doing the torque reduction thing. We'll send Jake another log, and we're gonna just keep working on it, but I think that's it for this video for now. We did make some pretty good progress. Obviously this thing runs smoothly, it runs good, it's just lacking some top end power at the moment, and otherwise everything's good. No leaks, runs cool, temps are all good. I think once we get the engine dialed, it's gonna be really fun. Really wish we could just put a link ECU on it, and we probably will eventually, but for now we're gonna try and get this factory ECU stuff to work. So hopefully we can do that and then maybe switch to a link on the off season. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe, plenty more like it. Thanks for watching.